Welcome back, guys. In today's video I'm going to be talking all about Venus. Hey Sensing Squad, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a brand new video. Sensing Squad is the name I'm giving to the sensing community and all you guys who follow me on the gram, follow me here on YouTube, on TikTok. It's the name I'm giving to those of you who are on this journey with me, for all fragrance lovers, scent lovers, music lovers. For those of you that love fragrances, who love music, and who love a good sensory experience that sensing has to offer. That's what sensing's all about. So, seeing as we're in the month of February and we are a couple of days away from the holiday of love, Valentine's Day, I felt that it was the most fitting time of all to talk about my new fragrance, the first fragrance release launching from Sensing by Sherif, Venus. So as you guys know, Venus is launching officially very soon, this spring. But ahead of its release, I couldn't help but do another giveaway. I feel it's fitting, I feel it's needed. And yeah, I wanted to celebrate Valentine's Day by doing a special giveaway. I just felt we had to have one more before the official release of Venus in spring. So to enter, follow me on Instagram, go on my Instagram page. There are full instructions of how to enter the competition and be in with the chance of experiencing Venus before its official launch. So yeah. So today what I really want to do is take you on a journey of the foundations of how I created Venus. As you guys know, Venus is the first release to emerge from the house of Sensing by Sherif. It's my first baby. And I wanted to take you guys on a little bit of a journey as to how I incepted Venus, how it began, the beginning stages of me creating this perfume. And as you guys also know, if you have been following me and if you've seen previous videos, Venus also has a song, and the song was inspired by the fragrance. I'm going to talk about the beginning stages of how I began the song, how I began the fragrance. So I'm really just inviting you on the journey back to the beginning, back to the basics of how I started creating Venus and the song. So Venus actually began with an accord I was creating. You could say Venus was almost a kind of slight accident because I was actually working on a different fragrance altogether, and I was creating bases and accords to kind of give me some canvases to work off in developing further on top of to create a perfume, specific perfume I was working on. But during the process I ended up creating the Venus accord. For those of you that don't understand or know what an accord is, I'll try and give a quick breakdown. Basically an accord is normally two or more materials that once blended together they form something harmonious that smells completely brand new, in simple terms. Some people consider accords to be as good as a perfume on its own. They are essentially, because they are a blend of materials that produce a new scent. But I consider an accord to be a subsection of a fragrance, intended to represent a characteristic or facet within the fuller fragrance. You can have fantasy accords, true to form accords. So an accord that is intended to create a smell in nature, like rose or something like that. An accord can be comprised of two materials. It can go up to 10 or 15 or even more materials, but it creates a kind of, I suppose, a note in a way. There are different kinds of accords. You could have like a citrus accord, and in that case you could combine like some bergamot, some orange oil, some lemon oil, maybe some grapefruit oil in different measurements, and you would create a citrus accord. It's basically a subsection of a perfume. So within a perfume, you know, you see notes that kind of move from the top to the middle and heart of the fragrance into the base. But within that whole composition of a perfume, you can have accords and sort of subsections of perfumes. You might have a base, say it's like a rosy perfume, a rosy musk. You might end up having a rose accord or base that is within the perfume that builds up a part of the perfume, and then obviously other factors, other materials, other bases and accords and aroma chemicals and essential oils and materials will come into that fragrance to fine tune it and develop it into its final fragrance. there are also fantasy accords, and Venus I would say falls into a fantasy accord because it doesn't necessarily, Venus is not a recognizable smell that's like in nature that we could all recognize. It's something that kind of comes from the imagination, my interpretation. Another thing to mention, like for fragrance lovers, when you do read the notes of perfumes from your favorite fragrances, the notes are not necessarily the materials that are in the fragrance, they are the note profile. So they are the perfumer's intention for the wearer to experience a note of chocolate, or a note of musk, or a note of wood. It doesn't always necessarily mean that these specific ingredients have gone into the perfume, because you can't put chocolate in a perfume. There are raw materials and aroma chemicals and constituents of other natural materials that harness these scents, or they have to be pulled out of other materials. Oftentimes they could be constituents of an essential oil, or they can be chemically reproduced in a lab. But yeah, notes are an illusion in a sense. They aren't necessarily the materials that go into the fragrance. So that's just a little side note. So anyway, back to the Venus Accord. So I created this accord. As I said, I was trying to create some accords and bases that emulated femininity because of the fragrance I was working on. And during this process, I ended up creating the Venus Accord. It was an accord that was made up of a citrusy top note. It had a bergamot in the opening. There was a vanillic note, the kind of sweet, cakey vanillic note in the kind of mid to dry down of the accord. There's also like a coumarin, tonka, almondy material in there. I have a very decadent woody amber material. It's a very like high-end, expensive, smooth woody amber that also adds to the base elements of the accord. And then I have this beautiful material that some of you might have heard of before called hedione, that's flushed throughout the accord. It provides a kind of sparkly, airy, effervescent feel. It's often described as a kind of transparent jasmine, but it's also got kind of, it's got like florally, citrusy facets to it. For some people can't even pick up the smell on its own. They will say, oh, it doesn't really smell of anything, but it's an amazing functional material within perfume that provides lift and sparkle and kind of just an airiness. So that's another part of the accord. And finally, I had a very special, sweet, sensual, powdery, musky material. So those elements make up the Venus Accord. And the Venus Accord is obviously a subsection of the Venus perfume. I guess it was kind of the foundation for which all the other materials built on top of to actually finesse and fine tune the fragrance after many, many, many iterations and trials. But yeah, that was the Accord. So the Accord obviously was the starting point of the perfume, and the Accord was what influenced me creating the song Venus, the sound composition. The accord was really what I smell, and when I was in the studio creating music, I was inspired by the facets of this accord. I was wearing it, and the things it made me feel came through in what I was creating in the music. So we're going to cut now to a video of me showing you the behind the scenes of me actually working on the musical composition for Venus, just to show you kind of my beginning process of how I started the track off in its skeletal form. And I hope you enjoy that, but we're about to cut now, so here we go. So I've just opened up the project Venus. I'm just going to take you through a few little elements of the track. Nothing too crazy, just a few little elements, just to give you an idea of how my process kind of began. I'll show you like maybe the core melodic line, like the chord progression, the very basic chord progression I started with, and just some of the atmospherics around it to just give you the feel of Venus, the vibe, the inspiration that the scents were giving me, and the blank canvas that I worked from, the kind of skeletal beginnings of the track. So I actually started off with the most simplest of chord progressions ever. When I say simple, I mean super simple basic chord progression, but I just liked it because it was kind of like a really happy vibe. It was just the vibe of Venus, and you'll get to see why in a bit, but like literally it was. So I played in F major, A minor, G major, and then so here's a little look at the project, and here you're going to hear the sound. Yeah, it's this little sound here, the synth. And then can you hear those raindrops? Yeah. So I need to talk about this raindrop sound that I absolutely love. It's just, I call it the raindrop sound. It just feels like droplets to me, like just dropping from the heavens. And it kind of pans and moves around, you know, it's got like a kind of movement on it. There's a delay and it kind of changes texturally, but I love it because it's kind of like rhythmic, kind of like mildly percussive. But yeah, that's like a key sound in this composition, and it gives like a kind of raindrops, you know, those vibes, heavenly, ethereal, atmospherics. I also do a little bit of layering with my kicks, so you'll hear like I've got a kind of this kick here. I've got like a low kick and a high kick kind of paired together, and I feel like the kind of raindrops kind of ricochet off that. It's kind of like I wanted like a pulse effect, kind of like heartbeats, dual heartbeats. And then like my snare is even like quite muted and boxy, like a clap. It's kind of like a muted snare. So yeah, the rhythmic element doesn't actually come in throughout the whole track. There's like, yeah, I'm still figuring out what I'm doing a little bit of that. I'm probably going to end up having several versions for Venus because there are just so many tasty parts of this composition, and I like a really minimal version of the track where you get to hear all the highs and atmospherics, but I also love the version that's a bit more like rhythmic and where the drums are kind of doing their thing. But anyway, we shall see. So just to make it clear, that doesn't give you the most cohesive picture at all. I was kind of just firing sounds, not all kind of compactly what's within the track at the same time, but just wanted to give it a kind of insight to the feel of the track, the vibe, the elements that are within the track, the atmospheric. So you were hearing like some bells and pads and the synths and the atmospherics, the effects, the risers, the kind of like kind of like twinkly star feels. I wanted it to have very much like planetary vibes, outer space and kind of ethereal. It's got that kind of Venus archetype in the feminine energy, very flowy, sensual, vibey, goddess like, queen vibes, like airy, you know, flowy. That's kind of what, you know, what I was going for with the track. The track was very much influenced fully by the accord, the Venus accord. And obviously, as I explained, Venus accord opens with like a bright kind of bergamot or citrus. It's got vanilla and tonka, and a woody base. It's got hedione, jasmine type material that kind of gives this lift and sparkle and air and effervescent vibe. And it's got this powdery sensual musk that, you know, connects so much with the kind of tactile, skin-like, pheromonic element of what Venus is all about. So I wanted to incorporate all of that in the music with the sound composition and the feel, and they very much bounce off each other. So yeah, that's just a little insight as to how the track started out and the inspirations behind it from the scent. Also, obviously, haven't shown too much of the I haven't really shown much of the vocals. I'll show a little bit of the vocals, but I wanted the vocals to be very sultry, soft, glidey, soothing, feeling really soothing and airy. And I've got, you know, some nice harmonies in there to kind of give it like a kind of choral, a chorusy, harmonic, melodic, almost like a kind of space choir vibe. I don't know if that makes sense. Not a freaky, like alien-y space choir, like a kind of planetary choir of the planets. I don't know, choir of the stars, twinkly, very like I guess kind of disembodied voices type vibe. So you've got these nice kind of vox samples that sound kind of I don't know, like voices, like Starlight voices kind of thing. So it just taps into the whole kind of spacey element and the planetary element and just twinkly vibes, you know, starlight, star bright, that whole thing. Yeah, definitely got carried away there with my imagination. There's also a bit of dichotomy because there is kind of like a sassy opening, the intro to the track. I won't give too much away, but there's kind of like a sassy bop going on, and then it kind of goes into a softer version of the vocals, more, you know, fluttery vocals. But then I feel like the chorus has also got some punchy vocals in there as well. So it's very diverse across the board, but it still keeps that very refined energy, you know, that refined, decadent, royal energy all throughout, just like a queen would. You know, a queen would be strong and delicate and beautiful and powerful at the same time, and still rules, you know, but still is composed. So that's kind of the vibe, like queen energy. Venus, babes, Venus. You obviously get to hear the vocals in full when the track's released, but I'll show you a little bit.
She's looking delicious, but you're spending your time on me. You've been doing me righteously. Spice of life, that's my time. I like the variety. You're spending your time on me. Might let you spend all your life with me. Spice of life, that's my time, baby. So I might just take it there tonight. You're giving me the stars, I'll give you paradise, baby. So I might just take you on a flight, baby. You can be my Mars, I'll show you paradise, I'll be Venus.
So there you have the kind of beginning stages of me creating Venus the Accord, which was the beginning stage of Venus the Perfume, and you have me creating the beginning stages of Venus the Song, my skeletal beginnings, how it kind of kicked off. And of course I had multiple sessions to fine-tune and finesse the actual composition and song. So when it's finally released, hopefully you'll enjoy it, and you'll get to experience it in its finality and its completion, and experience the fragrance alongside it, and really get the true essence of what I've been trying to create here with Venus. The vibe of the music obviously represents the vibe of Venus. It's flowy, it's sensual, it's spacey, it's lush. It feels like you're in another universe. So that was what I was going with, and I hope that gives you some insight as to my beginning stages of creating both the fragrance and the song. So I'm going to dive into the actual notes that are within Venus, the finished perfume. Obviously I've just spoken a little bit about the accord, which is one element within the perfume, the kind of starting point of the perfume, but I'm going to whiz through the notes of the actual perfume. I've just released a blog post that dives into the notes in a lot more detail, and I talk about the meaning of the notes, what the notes are supposed to represent for the wearer, what I'd love you to feel and experience when you wear Venus, and my intention behind including these notes in the fragrance composition. So yeah, do check out the blog post. It definitely dives into the notes in a lot more detail, so you can understand what the meaning of them is and why they're there, what they represent. Just go to my website www.sensingbySherif.com and sign up to my mail list and be part of the Sensing Squad, and also check out the article on my website. So I'm actually going to tell you the notes of Venus, the perfume notes. So in the top we have Italian bergamot, spicy pink pepper and creamy coconut. That's the opening of the fragrance. In the heart of the accord we have a chantilly cream, we have jasmine, we have a sweet floral accord, we have a maraschino cherry, marzipan, sweet almond and powdery sensual musks. In the base we have vanilla, Turkish rose, creme de cacao, woody amber, ambrette and labdanum. So Venus is very much a nuance note fragrance. I've designed Venus to very much be a nuanced fragrance. So you have a touch of something, a sprinkle of something else, a splash of something else. There's not really a blast of any one thing. There are facets, touches of things that all come into this composition to make you feel something cohesive, which is that feminine energy of Venus. So those are the notes of Venus. As I said, do head over to the blog post to get a more detailed explanation of these notes and how they adhere to the archetype and characteristic of Venus. So I want to kind of conclude this video by talking about some fragrance layering combo recommendations that I think would be amazing for Valentine's or date night. Obviously we have the big giveaway where 3 lucky winners are going to get to experience Venus before its release. And Venus as a fragrance is really about unlocking your feminine energy. It's a unisex fragrance, so whether you're male or female, we all have feminine and masculine energies, but this is about tapping into your feminine energy. And with it being Valentine's and the season of love, obviously Venus represents that fully. So Venus is amazing on its own, totally amazing on its own. However, it's also an amazing layering fragrance. Like, it layers really well with other fragrances in its scent profile, with its in a similar note profile to it. Venus layers amazingly with citrus perfumes, gourmand perfumes, amber perfumes, chypres, woody perfumes, musks. Venus is amazing with musks, powdery musks. Like, most of the fragrance families it goes so well with, but I thought I'd give a few recommendations of a few scents that I think layer beautifully with it, that I use all the time. I'm going to go with a classic designer fragrance, a cult niche fragrance from a brand that we all love, and my favorite celebrity fragrance at the moment, just for some variation. Oh, actually, and a cheapie. We'll do a Zara scent as well. So these are my fragrance layering combos for Valentine's season, date night season. These are some sexy vibes, like whether it's a Valentine's date night or a Galentine's day out with the girls, or whether it's just a normal date night and you want something kind of sexy and unique. Here are some cool recommendations that I think layer beautifully together. So the first layering combo is Dolce & Gabbana The One. I would suggest that we start off with the layering fragrance, a squirt or two, and then we top up with Venus. Oh, that's divine. D&G The One is a really classic scent. D&G The One has notes of bergamot, mandarin. It's got a solar accord in the opening and thick some lychee as well. It's got a floral fruity heart with notes of magnolia, muguet, jasmine. It's got a plum in there, so it's very floral fruity vibes in the heart of the fragrance. And in the base we've got vetiver, mossy notes, ambery notes. So very complementary note profile in relation to Venus. It's quite a strong fragrance, on me anyway. I feel like it's a deep vanilla. It's got a kind of vintage vibe to it. It's not like sweet cakey. It's very elevated, sophisticated woman. This combined with Venus creates a really nice coconut note, because there is the coconut cream in Venus, but for some reason it really kind of pushes through when these two fragrances are combined. And the musk, the powdery musk, is just on another level. It's very pheromonic. We all know musk is a very pheromonic note in perfume. And it's not an animalic musk, it's a very sweet, powdery, warm, feminine musk. So the musk and the coconut really come through here. And the jasmine and floral elements are just absolutely lush. So this is a beautiful fragrancing combination. These two layer brilliantly together. Definitely giving more of a beast mode layering combo. Yeah, it's on another level. Beautiful, very sexy, very, very sexy. This is definitely a date night combo. Next, I'm going to layer with Kayali's Vanilla Royale Sugared Patchouli. This is one of my favourite Kayali fragrances. I love all their scents, but this one is very unique. We'll go with a scent strip on this because I've got this arm. We'll go with a scent strip on this. This has a really beautiful patchouli note. Oh, absolutely unreal. These two blend together so beautifully. Some of the notes in this fragrance are vanilla. There's a vanilla so absolute, so quite a lot of vanilla in this. It's a boozy scent. It's got a rum note. There's also a royal oud in here, which gives it a really nice woody base. And sugar patchouli is obviously the star of the show. It's a beautiful patchouli. It's not an overpowering patchouli. It's done really well. It's got a kind of sweet accent to it and a sugary kind of gourmand undertone to the patchouli. So it's earthy, but it's still kind of sweet and delicate in that respect. It's not like a strong, pungent patchouli. Brown sugar, creme brulee. And what this does when blended with Venus is it really brings out the gourmand facets of the fragrance, of both fragrances. They complement each other beautifully. It's very sweet. The patchouli blended with the Venus is beautiful because it kind of adds an earthiness. The rum note from the sugared patchouli is a really nice addition when blended with Venus because we get this kind of boozy facet. So you get a kind of boozy, earthy, even more intoxicating vanilla when this blends together with Venus, which is absolutely gorgeous. Again, quite sensual, very sexy, very, very sexy. I think the cacao note, the creme de cacao note in Venus is elevated here. You get more of a kind of chocolatiness, like a kind of chocolate cream. And that with the kind of rum gives a real kind of almost, I don't know, like an Irish cream. I'm getting like a little bit of an Irish cream. It's just absolutely amazing. And you get the floral really comes through also, which is really feminine and flirty. Amazing. Next fragrance combo is going to be Eilish with Venus. I love this fragrance. I'd been curious as to what it had smelled like for a while. And when I did smell it, I was really, really surprised. We'll go on this arm with Eilish. A couple of squirts of Eilish, and then we'll top up with Venus. Oh, incredible. This would be a beautiful Valentine's Day fragrance. I had Valentine's Day this weekend with my girls, and I wore this fragrance combo and it was amazing. Amazing. First of all, I love the bottle. It's totally giving feminine energy. The notes in this fragrance are so beautifully, masterfully put together. I really enjoy this fragrance. In the top, we have mandarin and some red berries. Mid, we have some spices, soft spices, rich cocoa and creamy vanilla. I feel like this element of the fragrance blends so well with Venus because Venus also has that creme de cacao note. It's got the chantilly cream, which is like a beautiful whipped kind of vanilla cream, dessert-like cream. And these notes blend so amazingly together. It's unreal. Also with Venus having the pink pepper note and these soft spices in the Eilish fragrance, the mid note composition of both fragrances is what really elevates this layering combo. They blend so well together. In the base of Eilish, we've got some sleek woods and musks. So again, similar note profile, and honestly, that they just smell amazing together. So nice. It's kind of got like a girliness to it. I think the berries really give it a kind of sweeter edge. There are nuanced notes of maraschino cherry and almond in Venus. There is actually a little bit of heliotrope in the composition as well. So that kind of plummy berry note is understated in Venus, but with the Eilish combination, it really does smell amazing. I feel like the notes of both of these fragrances mesh so well together. They really complement each other. The gourmand facet, the musky facet, the understated woods and the spice. When these come together, amazing combo. Very sensual, warm, sweet, gourmand delight. This is just gourmand at its finest. It's amazing. Love this combo. The final combo I'm going to mention is something I decided to just chuck in at the last minute. I think it's good to have a cheapie. This is a kind of nice combo for yourself if you're just at home. Maybe if you just want to self-pamper and be at home, and maybe a chilled, relaxed, self-love, self-care kind of day. So from the Zara vanilla range, I've decided to go with Starlight, which is it's described as an exquisite nectar of almond and tonka bean dressed in enveloping ambery vanilla signature. This scent is fantastic. I love it. It's very warming. I've heard some describe this as a kind of old lady or mature lady smell, and I've had some describe it and say they find it to be too masculine. I find it to be perfectly unisex. It's a warm smell. Let's try it on this. I would give maybe 1 spritz of that and 1 or 2 spritzes of Venus. It's amazing. Oh, so yummy. So comforting. It's a really comforting smell. I think the lavender and the tonka adds something a little bit unique to when it's blended with Venus. It's kind of got a mild aromatic undertone. There's a woodiness in there. It's still musky and powdery. It's very comforting. It's the kind of smell I could wear at home or even out, but it's a pleasant smell. It just makes you feel comforting. It's like enveloping. Like I feel like I could just wrap up in something warm and wear this and feel really comforted. It's so nice. I think the first two combos were kind of like hot date night. The third one I think is a great Valentine's out with the girls brunch kind of vibe, and this one is kind of like a nice smell for you, just on your own, just kind of like when you want to give yourself some self-care and love, because you know Valentine's is about loving yourself as well. It's not just about sharing with other people, but it's about recognizing the love that you need to give to yourself and appreciating and celebrating that. So those are my layering combos that I think could be fun to try with Venus. And yeah, can't wait for the official launch. Obviously, I cannot wait for Venus to be officially out and available to you all. Obviously, I've done a few giveaways and some special early bird packages. Some people have gotten to smell Venus early, and some people have gotten to experience Venus before its release date. But believe you me, I cannot wait until this perfume is available for you all to experience, and it's coming very soon. Please just bear with me. This spring it will be out. I'm just finalizing some final things and then it will be available. But please do subscribe to this channel, follow me over on Instagram, sign up to my mailing list to keep fully updated with everything that's coming and when. Those of you that sign up to the mailing list will get exclusive discounts. There will be mega discounts for mail list sign-ups on the release of Venus, so you don't want to miss out on that. And I hope you enjoyed today's video and getting a little bit of an insight to my beginning stages of creating Venus the perfume. Hope you enjoyed coming along on the journey of seeing how I started creating Venus the track, its early inceptions, and I hope you're looking forward to seeing the finished final version of the track and experiencing the final version of the perfume when it's out very soon. In the meantime, I hope you have an amazing Valentine's Day no matter what you do, whether it's Valentine's, date night, Galentine's, or just a beautiful evening in at home by yourself. Like, we all need to celebrate love. We all need more love in the world. We all need to embrace more compassion and love. So I hope you have an amazing Valentine's Day and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care, guys. See you next time.